Well, I did it. I managed to get my hands on these Spider guys, purchased from Amazon right before Christmas Day. These guys were sold out everywhere while I was visiting the States, and people were flipping them at Frankenstein's for some pretty insane prices. I think the lowest I found them for was 35 US for that Tobey Maguire toy, and a whopping like 50 bucks for the Andrew toy. Yes, these are the newly released No Way Home figures of the Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. I did not buy the Tom Holland one because, in case you missed my coverage video, I said that the fact that it's the in-suit with the Tom Holland head is really cool, but it's not the movie suit that the audience has been attached to just yet, so I don't really have a connection with it, and it wouldn't fit in with my displays. Also, I don't really like that Tom Holland suit that he does wear in the movie anyway, so I'm just gonna skip them for now. These are my favorite iterations of Spider-Man in live action. These are hotly anticipated figures. I also don't really collect MCU figures. I try to stay away from the movie lineup of characters, but I have a nostalgic love towards these guys. And the first thing to note about the packaging here is the choice to have No Way Home for Tobey Maguire, but The Amazing Spider-Man 2 for Andrew Garfield. It's really strange that they did this, and I think I read somewhere that someone said there might be some rights issue thing. You can't label Andrew Garfield as a No Way Home character, but you can label him as an Amazing Spider-Man 2 character, or something along those lines. And here they both are out of the box, complete with accessories or disappointing lack of. Both of these figures are re-releases from a 3-pack that released I think a full year ago now, and the biggest criticism that I saw for that pack online was the lack of likeness heads for the actors, plus it was a store exclusive. So if you waited a full year like I did, or like I had to because Hasbro Pulse doesn't ship to my country, now you can get them for a cheaper price and with actor likenesses. They are though the exact same figures. So we'll start with Tobey, who I think is the one that most people are trying to get their hands on. I am a person who grew up on these movies. Literally, I was I think 4 years old when I was in cinemas seeing Spider-Man 2 for the first time, so I really wanted a Tobey Maguire figure because I wanted to have a definitive Sam Raimi Spider-Man toy, and I like it quite a bit, but the immediate word that I think I would use to describe him as is weird, because the toy doesn't feel like a regular Hasbro Marvel Legends toy to me. The texture and the material just feels like something different to the other Spider-Man figures that I already have. It's fascinating. He has some web-like textures that are a silvery color, and it kind of fades away depending on the angle. He feels very rigid to move around compared to, say, the Renew Your Vows Spider-Man figure that I love and adore. Even the Insomniac Spider-Man 2 figure feels like it's a bit easier to play around with. I still like him overall. I was just a bit surprised by that texture change. The Tobey head is the part that everyone wanted to see, and this is a really fun spin on a critique here. As far as the likeness goes for the Raimi Spider-Man movies I love, I think it's great. There's no notes there. As far as the likeness goes for a No Way Home older Tobey Maguire, who's around 14 to 19 years older depending on which Raimi movie you're picking from, I don't think it looks very good. There's no age that's shown here for how he looks in that movie, but I don't really mind that because I would rather have a toy based on the Raimi trilogy of movies than the MCU 1 movie. His articulation feels pretty good for a Legends figure, but it feels like he's holding back for a Spider-Man figure. He can rotate his head all the way around, and there's some small rotates in this separate little neck piece that I don't really like, kind of. He does have some clavicle movement, but it might be the most minor and tough to move clavicle shoulder piece that I've had. And speaking of, his shoulder does have some rotates and some bends available. He can rotate his forearm here and bends in the elbows, double bends in fact, which is always great and necessary to see on a Spider-Man figure, bends and rotates in the hands too, and we can say the exact same thing for his other arm, features all of the same movements that we just covered. He can rotate in the upper torso and bend here as well, pretty good stuff. He's also got some bends in the lower torso there, like all good Spider-Man toys do, no waist movements. His legs are pretty low down though compared to other Legends toys that I've got, so his legs can't seem to rotate up as high as other figures. That's about as far out as they can go, and that's about as far up as they can go. He's got rotates in the upper thigh and double bends in those knees. His feet are on rotates too, bends up and down, but actually no toe movements. And as far as the stand test goes, it is a success. Tobey passes with flying colors. Accessories, besides the hands that he has equipped, he's got some web whipping hands here, and that's all we ever ask for most of the time for Spider-Man toys, but I would like to see some actual webs included with these figures, please and thank you. They seem to only give out webs for special versions of Spider-Man. You also do get the mask from the Raimi movies, which is cool to see, and I think I'm going to display my guys with the actor likenesses showing though, but obviously I do want the choice to be able to swap between them. I didn't mention it before, but his hands are very small in comparison to the rest of him. It feels a little off if you look at it for too long. I mentioned earlier that I don't like that neck joint because it feels like it's always about to come away and break whenever I try to swap over his heads. It's not like a plastic material like the rest of the body, so it always feels a bit dangerous. This is Spidey all suited up and not appearing with the Tobey Maguire head. He's pretty cool overall, and like I said, I'm going to use that actor likeness though, but this is like the one thing that I wanted when I was 5 years old buying all these toys originally. And this is the Andrew Garfield figure. It's really hard to not just repeat everything I just said for Tobey. Really makes you reevaluate your spending when the two figures that you bought are near identical. I say near identical because at the very least the body shapes and molds are different. Andrew here feels more in line with a traditional Spider-Man toy. He's quite tall, slender, thin in some other areas, and I believe again the exact same figure that was included in that 3-pack. The material that's used for him feels a bit closer to what I was expecting for a Marvel Legends toy, but the blues still feel like it's that same imposter material that I'm not used to with the Tobey Maguire one. Also worth noting, it could just be a me thing. I am new to this after all. Still, this is my favourite live-action Spider-Man portrayal. He always has been since the original release of those movies. The suit's great, and I'm glad to finally have it in an action figure form to be paired with my Raimi figure and my other figures on display. Andrew's articulation is the exact same as Maguire's all around, but his neck doesn't have that weird separate moulding piece there, so that's something. He's got free rotations of his head the same way that Tobey Maguire does. Andrew here appears to have the exact same arm movements as Tobey too, which is clavicle movements here, some good shoulder movements there, and some upper arm rotates. He does have the double bends in the elbows thankfully, as all good Spider-Man toys do, and he features some bends and rotates in his hands, and even some molded web shooters there on the wrist as well. And the exact same thing can be said for the other arm entirely. Symmetry is key with these figures. For his torso, he can twist all the way around and also bend and rotate in the upper and lower torso regions. His legs are actually a little bit higher, so he does get some slightly better movement in my eyes compared to Tobey. Nice to see. Rotates in the upper thigh, double bends in the knees, and some foot rotates and bends as well. No toe movements, and for the standing test, he also succeeds. The accessories for this guy are incredibly similar to Maguire. He's got a fist and some gesturing hand of some kind. I'm not really sure what he's doing here, but it's something. And we've got the really cool looking mask. That's all we need to complete his look. Swap everything over, and now we have a really cool looking Amazing Spider-Man figure. The duo together look really nice overall. I'm still debating on if I want to get the other figures or not. It's really not likely that I'll get that Matt Murdock or MJ figure, but I might look into the Tom Holland figure. The Sandman also would fit the display kind of in a way. And the Otto I think looks really great too. Green Goblin's No Way Home design is too attached to that movie. I want to have a default Defoe villain for the Raimi movies. I don't really want the No Way Home version. I heard the complaints and I read all the criticisms for the figures, but I have to say I am still satisfied with these two overall. As someone who does try to focus on the comic or animated versions of the figures, not worry too much about the movie ones, all I needed was for them to look really good as the actors in the face likenesses, and they look really good to me. I went from having no Spider-Man figures at all to having 4 of them in less than a year. If you enjoyed this look at 2 Spider-Man movie figures, liking the video and subscribing does help to support the channel in making more videos like this.